Our checks show up at $0 was tough with Christmas around the corner.
I'm a single parent and was kind of already living paycheck to paycheck.
And a judge ruled the Trump administration cannot block states from sending full SNAP benefits. Georgia's election case against President Trump is moving forward. The state's prosecuting attorney's council head, Pete Scandalakis, will now lead the case after Black Fulton County DA Fonnie Willis was removed over her relationship with the special prosecutor. Trump and others are accused of trying to overturn the 2020 election results. And Chicago rapper Lil Durk's lawyers want his LA murder for hire case dropped after learning a judge and prosecutors got death threats that were not shared with his team. Durk, indicted last October, is set for trial January 20th. Get BIN News now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Joe Buck and John Smoltz welcoming you back to the City Center Convenience Mart. Uh-oh. She's looking at the cigarettes, but she just grabs the gum off the counter. Stand Up to Cancer and Rally want you to reduce your risk for cancer. Go to takeahealthystand.org.
Is this the takeover? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
I'm a bad man. Very important stretch of the season coming up for the USC football team. It starts Saturday against Iowa at the Coliseum. 7-2 USC must win its final 3 games to stay in contention for the 12-team college football playoff. The Trojans have not made it to the playoffs in the 11-year history of the postseason format. After Saturday's game, the Trojans are at number 8 Oregon next week and finish up at home against UCLA. UCLA has a tough matchup tomorrow. The Bruins are at number 1 Ohio State. Ohio State is a 31-point favorite. The top HBCU football games tomorrow: Howard at Delaware State, kickoff at 10 a.m. local time on ESPN+. South Carolina State is at North Carolina Central, 2 p.m. kickoff local time on ESPN2. The NFL game of the year so far this season is Sunday at SoFi Stadium. The Rams are taking on Seattle. Both teams are 7-2 and tied for first in the NFC West. 1 p.m. kickoff on Fox. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. Let me be clear about what we're witnessing here. A textbook case of talking about communities instead of talking with them. Pedro Pizarro, president and CEO of Edison International, found time this week to sit down with the LA Times to discuss their so-called fast pay program for those impacted by the Altadena-Eaton Canyon fire. We think it is neither fast nor fair, but when we organized the community town hall, Southern California Edison first confirmed participation and then abruptly canceled. There was no time available on Mr. Pizarro's calendar for a face-to-face conversation with the individuals and families who have lost everything due to the negligence of Southern California Edison. This is not an accident. This is a choice about who deserves direct engagement and who gets managed through press statements. When you talk to the LA Times about people, you control the narrative. You get to frame the issues on your terms, with your spin, filtered through journalists who may or may not push back. But when you show up to a town hall, you face real questions from real people experiencing real problems. There's no PR buffer. There's real accountability. This pattern of being available to corporate media, but unavailable for community dialogue, sends a clear message about whose voices matter and whose don't. It's the kind of disrespect that hides behind busy schedules and prior commitments, but the community sees right through it. If these issues are important enough to discuss with the LA Times, they're important enough to discuss directly with the people living them. Anything less isn't just disrespectful, it's a fundamental failure of leadership and accountability. Mr. Pizarro says in the LA Times interview, I need to go to the supermarket in Pasadena or Altadena and be able to look people in the eye. We want to do the right thing for our community. You had a chance to look folk in the eye at our town hall meeting last week, but you didn't show up. And then we invited you for a one-on-one conversation here at the station, but you have yet to confirm. So please, please stop with the gaslighting. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley, and as always, we welcome your feedback.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. It's Fat Meat Fridays and Reflectivity with Gina Towns, our very special guests on this hour, none other than Diallo Brooks, one of our regular contributors with over 25 years of experience in social justice and civil rights. Diallo has been a pivotal figure in promoting policies that foster safe, healthy, and thriving communities. He currently serves as the founder and CEO of Civic Vision Strategies, a strategic consulting firm empowering organizations through transformative leadership development and community engagement strategies. As the former senior equity fellow at the Schott Foundation for Public Education, Diallo bridged the gap between national policymakers and grassroots education justice organizations to advance progressive racial justice policies. His fellowship embedded him in the U.S. Department of Education under the Biden administration, where he served as a senior executive championing community and equity-focused policies. Diallo, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Always a pleasure to be here, Jesse.
So excited that you're here. And our very special guest in this hour is also Colonel Anthony Reyes, who serves as the Vice President for Project Child Support. Colonel Reyes is responsible for implementing a college boot camp initiative that provides children of parents who are owed child support a full 4-year scholarship. He holds a Master's of Arts degree in Human Resources Development from Webster University and a Bachelor of Science degree in Business Management from Hampton University. After completing his War College Fellowship at the Joint Center for Political and Economic Studies in Washington, D.C., he was tasked to stand up and oversee the U.S. Army's diversity program. Colonel, and that is full bird, Colonel Reyes, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
And Reflectivity and Fat Meat Fridays with none other than Gina Towns. Boy, she got more alphabets after her name than anybody I know. Wow. She has a BA from Hampton University. She has a Master of Arts in Theology from Princeton Theological Seminary. Gina, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you, Jesse. I feel like I need to be on double time with all of these leaders here, Diallo and Tony. Just this one time, Colonel Tony.
That's fine. That's fine.
And then there's you, of course, Brother Jackson. We thank you for what you do, how you do it, and with the historical backdrop that you provide us information and give us things to think about. And I'm certainly happy this week that we have been focusing on our veterans and those in our armed services who have served with great dignity and honor.
We have just about 2.5 minutes, maybe 3 minutes before we come forward. I want to ask this question of Diallo because he's at the intersection of education and policy. Diallo, listen, I don't want to bring the Colonel into this unless he just wants to jump into it, but our men are fighting right now in Venezuela, blowing up little bitty boats. Our men and women who the Colonel has suggested have taken an oath to fight in foreign lands of war, but could never have imagined fighting here in the United States. But so much, Diallo, seems to be the president pushing the buttons, deflecting from what is really going on Capitol Hill and in Washington. And you know a lot about that and those files. But look, there is a relationship between his deflection, reaction, his military activity, putting these men and women's lives on the line, and, well, let's just say a bunch of emails and his extracurricular activities. Yellow?
Yeah, so here are my thoughts, Jesse, on all of that. I think this administration has shown both in his previous time as president and in his current time as president that they will do anything to deflect from issues that impact them negatively. And so they use a lot of tactics, including using the military, including creating other types of distractions as well, to steer people away from the things that folks are actually want to pay attention to. The other piece that I would add to that as well is beyond distraction, this president has shown that he always wants to seem tough. And so rolling out the military into the Caribbean, firing on these little boats that are kind of floating there, that's another piece of the distraction and a way for him to say, hey, look, I am strong as president. I am strong because I'm able to take out these folks that are moving drugs into this country. But it misses the strategic vision, the strategic thinking that's necessary to enact our or utilize our military, and what it means as we stretch our military to do these things and get away from the things that in the homeland we need to make sure that we're taking care of on a day-to-day basis.
But Colonel, when I if I were a serviceman and I got on my knees or prayed every single day about the safety of myself, of my family, of the possibility of having children who will not know their father or know their mother because they could be lost in a foreign war, to be used in this capacity for such a so-called mission that falls far short of any mission that any man or woman ever signed up for, has to be demoralizing to members of the service.
Jesse, I'll just say one thing because it's already been addressed pretty good. I'll just say one thing. We do have a Coast Guard.
Mm. Oh, wow.
Wow. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward with Colonel Reyes, a man of honor, and Diallo Brooks,
who just preached on
a safe place to go loud. A great place for progressive politics. KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580, standing with you in perilous times. If you've been impacted by the federal government shutdown or the discontinuation of SNAP benefits, you can find a food bank near you that's offering free groceries by going to lafoodbank.org or call 211. Additionally, LA County offers free meals at certain parks. There are meals and snacks for kids and seniors. Visit parks.lacounty.gov to find out which centers are offering which programs and to register in advance. And in addition to offering 2 free meals per day for all students, the LA Unified School District provides weekend meal kits for its students by request. Meal kits can be picked up on Fridays at grab-and-go locations. Please visit lausd.org/Cafe LA. That's lausd.org/CAFELA. We keep us safe. We keep us provided for. We keep us connected. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Eric was way behind on his taxes.
I owed a lot of money to the IRS, almost $15,000. I tried to make payments.
The IRS wasn't satisfied with Eric's efforts, so they came after him full force.
They're coming to put a lien and a hold on all my income, my home, my car. I was just overwhelmed with what to do.
Then Eric called Optima Tax Relief.
When Optima Tax got involved, the calls would stop, the threats would stop. It was easy like 1, 2, 3.
Optima's award-winning team of expert tax professionals took care of Eric's problem.
I owe $15,000, and now my debt is clean. I don't owe anything.
Take Eric's advice.
If you have a tax problem, you need to call Optima Tax now.
Call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077. Optima Tax Relief.
Actual client compensated for sharing their experience. Some restrictions apply. Visit OptimaTaxRelief.com for details.
We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you that we keep us safe. Every girl deserves a chance to shine. That's the belief behind Forgiving for Living, Inc. Since 1999, this organization has been empowering at-risk girls ages 13 to 18, helping them overcome behavioral and mental health challenges. Founder Wendy Gladney's personal journey inspired the mission to give girls hope and purpose through the power of forgiveness. Through their ambassador program, workshops, and annual conference, Forgiving for Living has touched over 3,000 young lives, providing mentoring, life skills, training, and tools for building self-esteem and confidence. You can make a difference. Visit forgivingforliving.org to donate, volunteer, become a mentor, or find help for a young girl in need. Forgiving for Living Inc., building brighter futures for young girls. Visit forgivingforliving.org today. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Find a righteous rage and don't be afraid to say what you see with KBLA Talk 1580.
Jesse Jackson Jr., welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. This is Fat Meat Fridays. Reflectivity with Gina Towns. Gina, welcome forward to the show.
Well, thank you for being here and taking time away from your family, Jesse, to connect with your listeners. We are very grateful for your presence, and certainly we send your family all of our wishes, prayers, hugs, and love.
Appreciate that very much. Diallo Brooks is our regular contributor. He functions and works in the education space with more than 25 years experience in social justice and civil rights. Diallo has been a pivotal figure in promoting policies that foster safe, healthy, and thriving communities. Diallo, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you, Jesse.
Colonel Reyes also serves as a senior Army instructor for the Junior Reserve Officers Training Corps in Palm Beach County, where his duties included preparing students for the rigors of college and nominating select cadets to attend the military academies. Colonel Reyes, welcome forward to the show.
Thank you very much, Jesse. Happy to be here.
Colonel, you just threw a rock at us when you reminded us that the Coast Guard of the United States is supposed to be chasing down little skiffs, not the full weight of the U.S. Navy.
Introducing themselves and saying, hello, we're coming on board.
Yeah, due process. What
had happened?
What had happened was...
Jesse, I just a corrective note. I did retire from teaching ROTC a couple of years ago. I did enjoy that. I did it for about 9 to 10 years, so I did enjoy that job as well. But the military, we have specific missions, and that was my point. And everything that we do, there's a bottom line dollar figure across the board. And I don't want to get into what certain munitions cost or anything like that, but I've heard the term overkill used a number of times, and I find that really amazing, especially when we have a Coast Guard that is designed for that specific mission.
I find that quite remarkable too. And there's always behind these tariffs some desire, Diallo, for critical minerals. We keep hearing critical minerals. Then he removes the trade regimes after he has a deal. And it's almost inconceivable that Donald Trump isn't benefiting from every single deal that he is transacting as president of the United States. Diallo, am I too far-fetched, or is that the general thinking of the policy community that this is the biggest grift that's ever taken place in the history of the world?
Yeah, and I would agree with you on that point. I think if you look at the history of how this administration has operated, it's operated in a way in which those, whether it be the president's family, those close to the president, or those that support the president, have had some type of stake personally in the places and spaces that he's been operating in. That's both domestically and as far as their foreign policy as well. And so, I mean, that's one of the things that I think as we educate the American population is like, what is actually happening behind the scenes? Who is benefiting from the policy decisions that are made? And how are those policy decisions impacting us as everyday citizens of this country? And how are they impacting the world? And so we have to take all of those things into account Like I said before, there's a lot of show and pomp and circumstance that happens, but there's also some strategic missions that they're on that actually enrich themselves throughout this process. And like the Colonel said before, I think we also have to think about how we wisely spend the money of the government. We just come out of a government shutdown where the government was shut down for what, 44, 45 days almost. And because of spending, but yet we have this frivolous spending in the way that we're operating our military just for show or just to cover up other things that are happening. So we have to make some public policy decisions. As citizens, we have to be educated about the public policy decisions and how they impact our lives and hold those that are in high offices accountable for their actions as they spend our dollars.
You know, I think in this moment about the conscientious objectors like Muhammad Ali during the Vietnam War, who said that the Vietnamese never called me an N-word, right? And then we think about, watch this now, the absence of conscientious objection when the U.S. Armed Services are asked to move beyond even their immigration enforcement issues to the idea of fighting crime on American streets and rounding up Black people. Gina, I know you got something to say about
You know I do. Because we've been looking for, where is the questioning? I don't even know that I hear a lot of pundits on major networks asking for mug shots of these people that are on these boats. Like, here's who was on the boat. This is their mugshot, or this is the cartel or the source from which, you know, these are the people they're working for. This is a crime syndicate. It's a drug syndicate. And these are the people they work for. You're just blowing people up, and nobody is asking any questions about who these people really are. You haven't shown us, you know, here are the drugs that we believe they were carrying. I mean, if you have infrared, we can see the drugs on the boat. You haven't shown us that. So we've not asked enough questions. And so that leaves me, because this is Fat Meat Friday and we like to put some grease in this skillet, this meat real well. I'm just trying to understand, are you trying to create a conflict? I get the minerals thing, but are you also trying to create a conflict such that come the midterm elections, we won't have one because we'll be at war in some form or fashion? And I think that the countries who have caught, and not only that, let me just digress, because we've made our way over to Nigeria now. We want to have some sort of conflict going on with Nigeria. And so if you see all of these things adding up, if you see all the clouds gathering, is it not about to rain?
Yeah, it's raining. It's raining.
I'm not directing it at anybody. I'm just saying, when are we going to think? When are we going to discern about what's going on? When are we going to ask these people who were supposed to have the government continue to be closed, or these ones who wanted to close the government? I mean, when are we going to call these people to task as a nation? And I get the No King's marches, I really do. But there are some very serious issues that are on the table that are not being questioned appropriately. I mean, even by the Democratic leadership.
Oh, no doubt about that. No doubt about that.
Diallo, listen, don't look at me like that.
No. I wasn't looking like you. I was going to jump in, but I didn't want to step on anybody. But I will say this, Gina. I think that's a very important point. I think it needs to be, whether it's community media or whether it's mainstream media, I think those conversations need to be had. If we look at Africa, we know the mineral richness of Africa. We know the mineral richness of Venezuela and a lot of the South American or Central American and South American countries. So we understand that piece there. But I think from a public policies perspective, and I think from an organizing, I come from an organizing background. I learned under the great Jesse Jackson Jr. and Jesse Jackson Sr., among others. There is a necessity for us to always organize people to push those in power to do the things that we want them to do. We cannot rely on folks in power to do the right thing if we don't push them to do the right thing. I've always said that they respond to the voice of the people, right? They respond to the dollar and they respond to the voice of the people. So if we're quiet as citizens, because it is our duty as citizens to hold up and push those that are in public office to do the things that we want them to do, we cannot sit back and allow folks whether it be Democrat or Republican, to operate in the way they operate without our voice being heard. And we have to educate and mobilize around those issues that we care about.
Gina?
I'm just trying to understand when and how
Well,
that's going to happen.
But,
Because
well, Gina,
Colonel
I-
Ray.
no, I think you're just highlighting what everybody at home is screaming. Regardless of what side of the aisle you sit on, those questions you may hear one or two every now and then, but it should actually be those questions should be taking up every news hour out there, and you may hear one or two every now and then. So I believe everybody at home watching their TVs is probably scratching their head and saying the same thing, and expecting their representatives to stand up and put these questions forward.
Yeah, I find it somewhat fascinating that the domestic peace movement is literally under assault by the U.S. military. I mean, can we even turn our attention to Venezuela or to other conflicts around the world when the very movements that would get the attention of the politicians are now being suppressed in many ways by the administration? We've never seen anything, Diallo, on this scale in terms of the president's speech to the generals when Major Hegseth brought the world's generals together at the Pentagon. And he talked about this enemy within. And federal judges have been trying to strike the fine line, Colonel, between the activity of protesters under the First Amendment and the posse comitatus power of the president to intervene in the states for what he interprets as disruptive and treasonous activity, but you and I might interpret as simply the First Amendment right to express ourselves.
Well, you know what? I guess, Jesse, I'd add one thing to it. How about we let the governors let us know when they need help?
Yeah, how about that?
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes right down to it, in a lot of the numbers I've seen, a lot of these states were going in the right direction regarding crime and a few other things. Don't get me wrong, we can always do better, and I think every state is striving for that. Yeah. But I think we're really overstepping when you're forcing something like that on a sitting governor who is not asking for the assistance.
Absolutely.
So are we perhaps testing the water to see how hot or cold the American people actually are with regard to their rights, the rights that are afforded by the Constitution? How many with education lacking in social studies are even aware of what their rights are? I'm gonna tell you, some people know about Amendment 2, and they can preach Amendment 2 all day long. But it seems to me that these are just, let's dip the stick in the water here and here and here, because these places have a history of fight back. And if we are lukewarm, then I say that we are headed for trouble. We must be hot or cold. And I heard that somewhere before, but I won't go there because we need to go forward toward our break.
Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We're summing up Veterans Day and Veterans Week with Colonel Anthony Reyes. Our very special regular contributor, Diallo Brooks, is also joining us in this hour. We have a lot more. We got a lot of more when we come forward. Fat Meat Fridays, and Fat Meat is most definitely greasy. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
The station you turn to when you've had it up to gear with cultural incompetence. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. The government shutdown is over, but federal workers are still waiting on back pay. This Black worker in Birmingham, Alabama says seeing an 80-hour check show up at $0 was tough with Christmas around the corner.
I'm a single parent and was kind of already living paycheck to paycheck.
And a judge ruled the Trump administration cannot block states from sending full SNAP benefits. Georgia's election case against President Trump is moving forward. The state's prosecuting attorney's council head, Pete Scandalakis, will now lead the case after Black Fulton County DA Fonnie Willis was removed over her relationship with the special prosecutor. Trump and others are accused of trying to overturn the 2020 election results. In Chicago, rapper Lil Durk's lawyers want his LA murder for hire case dropped after learning a judge and prosecutors got death threats that were not shared with his team. Durk, indicted last October, is set for trial January 20th. Get BIN News now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Joe Buck and John Smoltz welcoming you back to the City Center Convenience Mart. Uh-oh. She's looking at the cigarettes, but she just grabs the gum off the counter. Stand Up to Cancer and Rally want you to reduce your risk for cancer. Go to takeahealthystand.org.
Is this the takeover? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Very important stretch of the season coming up for the USC football team. It starts Saturday against Iowa at the Coliseum. 7-2 USC must win its final 3 games to stay in contention for the 12-team college football playoff. The Trojans have not made it to the playoffs in the 11-year history of the postseason format. After Saturday's game, the Trojans are at number 8 Oregon next week and finish up at home against UCLA. UCLA has a tough matchup tomorrow. The Bruins are at number 1 Ohio State. Ohio State is a 31-point favorite. The top HBCU football games tomorrow: Howard at Delaware State, kickoff at 10 a.m. local time on ESPN+. South Carolina State is at North Carolina Central, 2 p.m. kickoff local time on ESPN2. The NFL game of the year so far this season is Sunday at SoFi Stadium. The Rams are taking on Seattle. Both teams are 7-2 and tied for first in the NFC West. 1 p.m. kickoff on Fox. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
It's never too early to start talking about money in realistic ways with your kids. JP Morgan Chase navigates how to educate your kids now about creating long-lasting, healthy money habits. Whether your kids are in elementary school, high school, or college, now is a great time to start a conversation about ways to create healthy money habits as they grow, ultimately benefiting their financial future. Talking about money in a realistic way to support your kids' lifestyle and dreams, your first banking account geared towards high school or college. It's never too early. Explaining the basics, what you earn and what you spend, building financial confidence starts with getting organized. Learning and practicing vital money skills, their finances, and achieve their goals. This segment is sponsored by JP Morgan Chase.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. Let me be clear about what we're witnessing here. A textbook case of talking about communities instead of talking with them. Pedro Pizarro, president and CEO of Edison International, found time this week to sit down with the LA Times to discuss their so-called fast pay program for those impacted by the Altadena Eaton. When we organized the community town hall, Southern California Edison first confirmed participation and then abruptly canceled. There was no time available on Mr. Pizarro's calendar for a face-to-face conversation with the individuals and families who have lost everything due to the negligence of Southern California Edison. This is not an accident. This is a choice about who deserves direct engagement and who gets managed through press statements. When you talk to the LA Times about people, you control the narrative. You get to frame the issues on your terms, with your spin, filtered through journalists who may or may not push back. But when you show up to a town hall, you face real questions from real people experiencing real problems. There's no PR buffer. There's real accountability. This pattern of being available to corporate media, but unavailable for community dialogue, sends a clear message about whose voices matter and whose don't. It's the kind of disrespect that hides behind busy schedules and prior commitments, but the community sees right through it. If these issues are important enough to discuss with the LA Times, they're important enough to discuss directly with the people living them. Anything less isn't just disrespectful, it's a fundamental failure of leadership and accountability. Mr. Pizarro says in the LA Times interview, I need to go to the supermarket in Pasadena or Altadena and be able to look people in the eye. We want to do the right thing for our community. You had a chance to look folk in the eye at our town hall meeting last week, but you didn't show up. And then we invited you for a one-on-one conversation here at the station, but you have yet to confirm. So please, please stop with the gaslighting. With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley, and as always, we welcome your feedback.
Nationwide is so much more than a great insurance company. They're one of America's largest financial services companies. Like how I'm more than Saquon Barkley, the NFL's reigning leading rusher. I'm also the NFL's leading husher. Shh, hush up back there. Wow, I might have just set the hushing record. Well, almost. For your insurance and financial needs, Nationwide is on your side.
Nationwide Investment Services Corporation, member FINRA, Columbus, Ohio.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where everybody is somebody and nobody is a stranger. You belong here.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. This is Fat Meat Fridays and Reflectivity with Gina Towns, our very special co-host and regular contributor and the creator of the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. That's producer as well. Gina, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Good afternoon, Congressman Jackson.
Colonel Reyes, thank you for coming back on our show, for being a man of honor during this Veterans Day experience. We're so grateful that you're here.
Hey, thank you very much, Jesse. And I do have a correction to make from our first hour once I get a chance.
Okay, no problem at all. And Diallo Brooks. Diallo, I'm not going to read your introduction again because I don't want you to have to make a correction, given that I can't read it in front of me. Anyway, Colonel, please feel free to make the correction.
Yes, and I think my preference, I believe either you or Gina asked me about the current state of the DEI efforts in the government. And I think I was thinking more of our efforts to address sexual harassment and non-discrimination and equal opportunity. Those programs are still in effect. However, the U.S. Department of Defense has eliminated its diversity, equity, and inclusion offices and positions. This action was required by the National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2024 and further directed by executive orders in early 2025 to terminate federal DEI programs. So I want to make sure I gave you that tidbit because I know we talked about it a little bit. So just want to make sure I was clear on that point.
But Colonel, what does that mean, Colonel? You were the chief diversity, equity, and inclusion officer, and here comes this thing from Congress and by way of the president's spirit. But now, before you answer it,
okay,
what did you do while you were there that is no longer going to happen because the office no longer exists? Explain that to us.
Well, again, when you think about diversity, it's again, you're getting the best value out of your people, your effort, your organization. When you feel Some people may call it too much of a touchy-feely thing, but you're talking about how people feel about their jobs, how people feel about their organizations, where their organizations care about them as people. When you feel like your organization cares about you like that, you're going to perform better. Quite plain and simple. But the diversity officers across the board, they were focused on those efforts. If I sit a bunch of people around a table and put a problem there, and it's a bunch of people that come from the same area that think the same way, they're going to probably arrive at a very similar answer to a problem. If you put a diverse group of people around that table and you put the same problem there, you're going to have about 5 or 6 different ways to what we would call skin that cat. So it just makes sense when you think of attacking and when you think of handling issues, when you're dealing with people. I don't see how you can afford not to have a program that's focused like this. So when you take that away, I think you can kind of see how people kind of feel about what the future actually holds. When you think about straight, equal opportunity, and sexual harassment, you can't take away programs like that. I mean, you're talking about legalities. So I hope that kind of answers.
I feel like James Brown is going to show up and say, "It's a world."
I gotta push this a little bit deeper. So
Are y'all cute right now?
And tell me if I'm wrong now, but I'm going to take my little shot at it just to make the conversation a little bit. So there's cultural diversity, where you see everybody around the table. Let's say they're just all white men.
Right.
We want women at the table. We want blacks at the table. At the end of the day, the debate that ensues, the conversation, the creativity that comes from it may lead to a more culturally diverse workforce.
Right.
But diversity, equity, and inclusion also includes disabled veterans benefits and businesses.
Yes.
Who are disabled Black soldiers and Hispanic soldiers who want their fair share, and rightfully so, of $1 trillion budget being spent annually as a result of this fiscal year in particular. Whatever our fair share is of the men and women who do business, why should we be locked out of our participation in the economics of the Pentagon? Walk with me on that. At one level or another, whether these guys right here want to eat my fried chicken or I want to eat their baked chicken, I don't really care. The fact of the matter is I'm in the toilet paper business, and everybody wipes their behind. I'm in, black men cut their hair. I need a little spray for the back of my bumps. If you want me to be high and tight, I need, a certain kind of, black folk make and do everything, and they want to be in the commissary. They want to operate in the contract world of the Pentagon for some of that trillion. You're not walking with me, Diallo. Am I talking to myself, or am I making sense with respect to where this money is going and whether or not we are losing money under this initiative, the cuts to this initiative?
Well, Jesse, when you ask the question, I think one of the first actions that I had was to pull together a diversity working group, and that group reflected all cultures, all shapes, sizes, the whole 9 yards, because you got to get in a room and learn from each other about those things that make us unique. So it starts right there. And you're asking, shouldn't we all have a seat at that table? Yes.
Well,
yes.
That says no fat generals, no fat troops.
And that gets us into another.
That's a whole other Hey, Jesse, let me say something really quick, because I think what you're getting at is the economic side. And yes, there is a dollar side of like how those dollars get proliferated into communities across the country and the impact that has, particularly on the agency that has the biggest budget in our government, right? The other side is, the other question you have to ask is why in the first place did we even create diversity, equity, and inclusion within the Department of Defense or any other agency within our government, within our country? Because we were missing out. I mean, one, there's a history of discrimination that's existed in our country where white men were the decision makers, the white men were the benefactors, white men were the folks that made all of the decisions, right? And got all of the resources based on those decisions. So that was part of it. But two, it goes back to the Colonel's point, which I think is a very, very important point. in order for us as a nation to be the best that we can be, we need the perspectives of all of our communities.
Exactly.
All of our communities and experiences. And I know, like, coming from the Department of Education, where I was doing equity work, it was more external facing, like how our programs were driving equity externally. It is that if we don't do that intentionally, if we don't have intentionality around that, we all have blind spots. Even as a Black man, I have a blind spot. I might not see what a Black woman might see.
Well,
or a Latina.
We got to come forward in a second, but I'm going to push back a little bit. We have the most culturally diverse Supreme Court in the history of the United States. And you all know I'm playing with you guys just a little bit. Ketanji Brown Jackson, Clarence Thomas, Miss Kagan, Sotomayor, the white guys on the court, including Clarence Thomas. But give me Brown versus the Board of Education, all white men who are making sense on the question of equal protection of the laws. Give me 1954 in all white male court that diversifies our society in fact, and not the cultural diversity of today's court that is taking everything away from us in the name of diversity. We need to talk about that when we come forward. Gina, I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. More on Fat Meat Fridays when we come forward.
Say the quiet part out loud. KBLA Talk 1580.
1 in 5 Black adults ages 70 and older is living with Alzheimer's disease, or AD, and the risk is twice as high compared to white adults. But AD isn't just forgetting a name or losing track of time. Signs of early AD could be repeating questions, missing appointments, or struggling with bills and daily tasks. These things aren't a normal part of aging. Here's the good news. Treatments are available that may help if AD is diagnosed early. If you notice changes in memory or daily routines, whether in yourself or a loved one, don't wait. Early diagnosis and intervention are key to managing AD effectively. To learn more about AD and a potential treatment option, visit treatalsearly.com. That's treatalzearly.com to learn more about the signs and symptoms and a potential treatment option. This message is brought to you by AZI.
Is reviewing life insurance on your to-do list? Now's the perfect time to add it. A friend recently told me that securing life insurance sooner rather than later can help you lock in lower rates for years to come. So I bumped this up on my list and got it done. I called SelectQuote and couldn't believe how easy and affordable life insurance is. I'm 40 and got a $500,000 policy for $16 a month. My husband's also 40 and his $500,000 policy was only $18 a month. Plus, with SelectQuote's same-day coverage, there was no medical exam required, and we were covered by the time we hung up. Knowing I have this checked off my list feels amazing, but the peace of mind knowing my family is protected feels even better.
Call SelectQuote at 1-800-729-7070. That's 1-800-729-7070. Or go to SelectQuote.com to get your free quote today. That's 1-800-729-7070. Details on example rate at SelectQuote.com.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Imagine a Los Angeles where everyone can thrive, where communities have access to the resources they need to succeed. That's the vision of Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. They're dedicated to improving life in LA County by providing educational support, employment assistance, and spaces for community engagement. By 2050, they want LA to be the best place to connect, create, learn, live, and play. They're working toward an education system that's well-resourced and culturally responsive, becoming a hub for artists and innovators, and making sure everyone has access to healthy food, quality healthcare, and safe housing. It's about building a future where we all have the chance to succeed. We invite you to learn more about their mission and get involved with Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you that we keep us safe. Every girl deserves a chance to shine. That's the belief behind Forgiving for Living, Inc. Since 1999, this organization has been empowering at-risk girls ages 13 to 18, helping them overcome behavioral and mental health challenges. Founder Wendy Gladney's personal journey inspired the mission to give girls hope and purpose through the power of forgiveness. Through their ambassador program, workshops, and annual conference, Forgiving for Living has touched over 3,000 young lives, providing mentoring, life skills, training, and tools for building self-esteem and confidence. You can make a difference. Visit forgivingforliving.org to donate, volunteer, become a mentor, or find help for a young girl in need. Forgiving for Living, Inc., building brighter futures for young girls. Visit forgivingforliving.org today. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Nationwide is so much more than a great insurance company. They're one of America's largest financial services companies. Like how I'm more than Saquon Barkley, the NFL's reigning leading rusher, I'm also the NFL's leading husher. Shh, hush up back there. Wow, I might have just set the hushing record. Well, almost. For your insurance and financial needs, Nationwide is on your side.
Nationwide Investment Services Corporation, member FINRA, Columbus, Ohio.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where everybody is somebody and nobody is a stranger. You belong here.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. This is KBLA Talk 1580. It's Fat Meat Fridays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Reflectivity with Gina Towns and Colonel Anthony Reyes, as well as Diallo Brooks. Fat Meat Fridays. Fat meat is greasy, and I feel like cornbread Earl and me. Diallo, to your point about this, about the complicated nature of this thing, Gina was about to ask an even more pressing question. Gina, wasn't that good?
Oh, that was good. That was good. So, for those of you who are only in our listening audience at the moment, I have, you may have listened, and hopefully if you did not, there's a podcast that you should go and listen to from Tenacious Tuesday. This past Tuesday, we had Colonel L. Anita Dixon. She is a Women's Hall of Famer in the United States Army. We asked her, how do you get to be a Hall of Famer? But I'm going to tell you how you get to be a Hall of Famer. It is because you are excellent at what you do, and that people who are secure with themselves don't mind taking direction from you, because it is a matter of life and death sometimes. Now, when you have a president who tells you he wants to make America great again, and he points to a law from 1798, then you have to understand that we want an all-white male land-owning armed services. He's telling you that a soldier story, it needs to happen again. He's telling you that we don't want women serving in it, and we definitely don't want anyone who has a different orientation other than heterosexual. But I'll tell you, he may be running into some problems if any of the news reports are correct. But I will tell you, I wanted to go back and get Colonel Dixon's picture and put up, because that is what we're looking for. We're looking for the quality and everything that Colonel Reyes said that he looked for and he tried to implement in the United States Army, Navy. Well, not in the Navy, but you know what I'm saying. Like that example for all of our armed services. And certainly there are some parts of our armed services that are not as diversified, because Tony and I were joking on the phone about the other day about how if you can't swim, you're not going to the Navy. So at any rate, I just, I am incensed by the conflict that we have to create when it comes to our safety and our standing in the world, and when it comes to our military. So yeah, I just want to go off about that for a
was that a
minute.
question? I mean,
No, it was the stated, and
okay.
I stand by it.
Okay. Would you, Colonel Reyes, like to respond to that statement that she stands by?
Jesse, some things don't require a response.
Diallo?
I think I'm going to let her statement stand right there. We have had a couple of discussions, and I think I'm going to leave her statement alone.
All right, Gina, you must have another one right behind that.
No, I don't. I'm done for the time.
Okay. All right. Now, Diallo, is there any other national business, Diallo, that we need to cover about your concerns about what's going on right now in the administration?
The only thing I will say is that there is some silver lining. I mean, we often talk because there's so much negative stuff that's coming at us. But if we look at the results of this past election, which wasn't that long ago, we had a shutdown. We had bombing of stuff happening in the Caribbean. We've had the Epstein file conversations happening. But I think it's right on the tail end of like, there is a silver lining that people are moving in different directions politically. As we look at this past election, we saw what happened in Virginia and some other places around the country. There is a glimmer of hope that people are changing their minds or changing their perspectives. And I think we have to lean in with that energy to make sure that folks feel energized that, yes, we can push back, we can create change. And if we look at those governors, those mayors, those city council folks that are pushing back, like Chicago's mayor, Baltimore mayor, others around the country, there is some hope that our elected leaders are stepping up to the plate in certain circumstances, and our communities are leading the way in that process.
I am so grateful that you brought that word of hope. I am going to give Gina the final word, along with the Colonel, who might offer us another word of hope. But I really appreciate that, because I got to be candid with you, Diallo. My hopes were dashed after 7 Kings March. Millions of people showed up. Mamdani's victory, the victory in New Jersey and Virginia, and then these 8 Democrats who couldn't hold out for the rest of us. It just put me a full throttle stop. Gina, maybe a final thought and then a final word from the Colonel.
Well, first, I would really like to say thank you to Colonel Reyes and to all of our veterans who were on this week. I really have a great deal of respect, as I think that most Americans do, for the service that you provide. And we really have tried to highlight and not only honor, but cover the issues that face our military, both abroad and at home, the fight that occurs from even within. So thank you for your service, Colonel Reyes. And Jesse, before we go, we do have a couple of minutes, and I thought one of the ways I wanted to end today was to ask you, when it comes to our military, when it comes to what we're facing, what would you say that Reverend Jesse Jackson would say in this hour?
I think that he would probably turn his attention to his mentor, Dr. King's warning about the triple evils, which Johnny Mack talks about, of militarism, of racism, and of poverty in the United States. The poorest of the poor are being asked to fight these wars. The poorest of the poor are being asked to sacrifice their crops in rural America. The poorest of the poor are being asked to forego their SNAP benefits, supplemental nutritional assistance. The poorest of the poor are being asked to pay higher premiums for their health care in the wealthiest nation in the history of the world. And so at this hour, I'm confident that my dad would be turning his attention to the least of these. My father came into this world with very little. When God calls him at some point in time in his life and he leaves, he will leave the world with essentially what he came into the world with. But did he make a difference? He did. Did he change the world? He did. And when I finish with this radio program and one other event that I have this evening, I'm going to go to the hospital and just hold his hand And I hope that everyone who can hear my voice will join me in holding his hand as well. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You've been listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. I can't thank you enough, Gina. I can't thank you enough, Colonel Reyes. And I can't thank you enough, Diallo. Please keep my father, the Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr., in your prayers at this hour. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.